Okay. Okay, so this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to listen to Kirsty's story. And I'm Marianne Shearer, in case you don't know who you're talking to or who's talking to you. And we have several programs, the 30-day detox, the 100 days to health, the 365. And Kirsty came on one of the programs, and she's going to share more about which program she came on, how she benefited from it. But her testimony is so powerful that I thought it would just be a wonderful opportunity for her to share her story about how her life has changed. So basically, it's over to you, Kirsty. I really always an honor and a privilege to hear your testimonies, your stories. And this is Kirsty's story. So I'd like you to tell us which program you were on and what condition your health was on when you came. Why did you get on the program? What was the reason for you starting the program? And what was wrong with you at the time? So we will start from there, if you don't mind.
So quite a lot was going on when I found you. So just a quick history. As a child, I always struggled with allergies and asthma and eczema and those sort of things. My sister and I, my one sister and I, our allergies were so bad, we'd actually go for injections. It was like this, I think I was 7 or 8 years old. I'd go for these injections every month. It was like under the skin, and it would make like this bulge. It was so painful, but always on some sort of nasal spray and antihistamines. Also had asthma, eczema. As a child, I used to have these aqueous cream baths, which was what was done back then. And this was kind of my life growing up. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 14. But at the time, we had just made quite a big move from a small town to a big town, and it was primary school to high school, so huge culture shock for me. So I was taking strain. But yeah, give the poor child some meds. But yeah, no offense to my parents. I mean, they thought they were doing what was best for me. But once I was settled, I came off the medication. I wasn't on it for that long. But yeah, I think the chaos for me, I would say, really kind of started, my mental state mainly was when I met a guy whose family used to drink quite a lot. And for someone who didn't drink at all to suddenly be kind of thrust into this environment where people would drink quite a lot. Lovely people, no offense to them at all, they were great. But I started kind of getting into that drinking kind of culture. And I think that was when my mental state started to shift. Anyway, I'll spare all the details, but him and I got married, and the marriage lasted 2 years because I just lost it. I was crazy. Did and said all sorts of horrible things to this poor guy who just loved me. And I think the worst part of it was that I didn't care. It was just this, yeah. And sugar was involved as well. Him and I, we loved our sweets and candy. So we got divorced, and I went on quite a crazy kind of lifestyle. Is lots of drinking, lots of sugar, very bad eating. I was single, so I was just going crazy. Met another guy, got into another relationship who drank even more. White wine was their water, was like water for them. So yeah, drinking lots of white wine. And during this relationship, my mental state was pretty stable. I had a really good job, and I was functioning pretty well, but this was when my toenail fungus started. And so gross. Toenail fungus is so gross. So I would go to the doctor, I think in this time, about 3 or 4 times. She would put me on these pulse treatments, where you're 7 days on this really strong medication and then 21 days off, and then 7 days on and then 21 days off for about 4 cycles. And I did about 3 of those in total. And you're not supposed to drink when you're taking those pills, but I would drink anyway. So yeah, toenail fungus. My eczema was back kind of on and off, but I would manage that with cortisone creams. My allergies, I'd have these awful spells of allergies, but I always had Allergex with me. It's like everywhere I went, there was a sheet of Allergex in my bag or in my pocket or something, because it's so affordable. It's like, it's easy over the counter. It's like 10 Rand for a sheet or something ridiculous.
And everybody does it. Everybody
Everybody
does
does, yeah.
Yep.
And I'd share them. Like someone sneezes. Oh yeah, I've got Allergex.
Allergics.
Yeah, so at this point, it was mainly my toenail fungus that was quite bad, and bladder infections as well. My doctor, I'd actually just send her an email every time I had a bladder infection, and she'd just send a script back for antibiotics. It was very easy. Just this was how I functioned. And then I think I was with this guy for about 4 years before I ended the relationship. Because it was clearly very healthy. And this was kind of when my world fell apart. I mean, this guy was my everything. And so I actually went back onto medication at this time, quite a lot of medication. I was starting to lose weight.
What kind of medication were you on?
I was on Wellbutrin X300 or something. So it was 300 milligrams, I think. And I was also on Lamictal, which now is also used for epilepsy.
Yes.
But they were giving it to me for my for mood disorders, and it was a mood stabilizer. That's what they called it.
Okay. So when you say mood disorders, what particularly were you diagnosed with? What did they say was the problem?
It was major depression. That was what
Okay.
my psychiatrist called it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's something that runs in my family. Depression is in my family. So it was just a case of, oh, it's genetic. So you're going to have to be on medication for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I went at this point, this was on Wellbutrin and Lamictal. And very expensive medication, I must say. Yeah. So yeah.
One of the good things about a lot of medication is it is expensive, and eventually people get to a point where they start questioning the amount of money they're spending. So it's one of the advantages of high-priced medication. It makes you uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to jump a few years, I met my current husband, who I'm married to now, in 2017. He had a big role to play in calming me down, I must say. He didn't drink much. I was also smoking back then, and he didn't smoke. So when we started dating, I stopped smoking because he wasn't smoking. And this was also around the time I started my yoga teacher training, which also changed my life incredibly. And after completing that, I quit my very stressful job, and I started teaching yoga full time. And then February 2019, my mom passed away. My mom committed suicide. And that's really when my body just gave in. I didn't really have a chance to mourn my mom properly at that time. There was just so much going on. We had most of the family staying with us at that time. Yeah, just lots going on. So no time to just actually sit and calm down and mourn my mom. So it was about a few weeks after that, my eczema just exploded. You've seen the photos. I had these watery blisters on my hands, and it was all over my arms and my collarbone. I even had patches on my eyelids.
Wow.
My depression just came screaming back. Anxiety became this new thing for me, which I never really experienced before. My toenail fungus was back, like my feet were hot all the time. My hair was now falling out. I was just in a very, very bad way. And I reached a point, same as you, Marianne, where I just cried out to God. I was like, this cannot be your plan for my life. And I was like, please do something. And it was quite strange. It was like this image of this old book my mom used to have called The Natural Way.
Oh, wow.
Popped into my head. And I had no idea what the book looked like. I think I'd seen it once or twice on my mom's shelf. But for some reason, this image of your book just popped into my head. And I messaged my sisters. I was like, do any of you have this book? And like, no one knew what I was talking about. So I Googled Marianne Shearer, and I came across your website, which at the time you had a whole long list of podcasts and talks and stuff, I think, that you'd done on radio shows. And I listened to them all. I found all these podcasts, and I was like, I just listened to them all, and I just like lapped up all this information, and I was like, this woman, everything she says just makes so much sense. And one of the things you mentioned for eczema was Barley Life and Amiga. And so I looked up these products, and I was a little bit taken aback at the cost of them. But I somehow managed to get Barley Life. I can't remember from where, but it wasn't the AIM company. So I think I paid a fortune for it. But I was taking Barley Life, and I slowly started to make little changes. Wasn't seeing much of a change in my health, but I was just so motivated. And you started your 100 Days to Health online at this point, I think, because you were posting on your YouTube channel the coaching calls, the recording of the coaching calls. So I was watching all of these. I would like refresh the page, waiting for the next one to come out so that I could listen to more of what you had to say. And then it was February, I finally decided to sign up for your 365. My year of health. Best thing ever. And at the time I was struggling financially, so I was nervous about buying some of the AIM products, but I said to the Lord, I just prayed, I was like, you got me this far. If I'm meant to go into these products, you'll provide. And suddenly I started to think, I was still seeing this nutritionist who was charging me a fortune for supplements that weren't helping. I was getting my nails done every month. I used to get these skin peels, those chemical peels every month, for what reason, I don't know why. So I kind of added up all these expenses of, like, I was spending money on things that were not benefiting me at all. And in fact, probably doing more harm than good. And I'm not saying this was the Lord telling me, stop doing these things so that you can afford Barley Life. I just feel like it was him kind of bringing some perspective into how I can start changing my lifestyle, and that included how I spend my money. So yeah, made a lot of changes in that regard. And yeah, a few weeks into 365 and I was full on. I was plant-based. I did all the things. I read all your books, and I was starting to see amazing changes in my body, in my mindset. But I must say the eczema wasn't budging. Just wasn't going anywhere. And I was getting very frustrated. But my facilitator, Melandi, big shout out to her. She was amazing. She just kept me encouraged and kept me motivated. And then it was, I think I sent you guys an email on day 180 of the 365 with the before and after photos of my hands. Yeah. And yeah, my hands are smooth. Sometimes I still just like look at them and I'm like amazed at how different they look. So eczema is stubborn for anyone out there struggling with eczema. Like that was the hardest part, the hardest thing to actually get rid of.
So your skin cleared up, your eczema is gone. What about all the other things, the anxiety and the depression and all of
No
that
more
stuff?
depression. I started to wean myself off my medication, which was so easy. That yeah, do it over just it's not something I did overnight. I did it over about 3 or 4 months.
Good.
got myself off
That's
that.
good. It's always better to, if you're going to do that, is to
I
do it
remember you
slowly.
saying, yeah, don't go off it straight away. But exercise is key. If I don't exercise, the depression comes back. It's like I have to make the effort to exercise. Yeah. But when you've got so much energy, you can't not.
So where do you exercise? What kind of exercise do you do?
So I love my walks.
Yes.
I treasure that time. My daily walks. I quite often can get 2 walks in a day. And they're long. They're 45 minutes to an hour. And
Awesome.
that's when I've got my worship music, earphones, worship music, or an audiobook. It's like my time. Got my hat, and yeah, I've got quite fair skin, so I've got to be careful the time of day that I go out. But yeah, love it. So yeah, no depression and anxiety, which meant I could take on more yoga classes, because I would find if I took on too many yoga classes, I would get anxious. And I found myself often canceling with my clients because I would rather lie on the couch and watch TV. So yeah, none of that. I was just taking on more classes and no burnout. It's just, yeah, it was great. I was thriving. I can't really say I lost weight. My weight pretty much stayed consistent, but I'm not overweight. So yeah, that was never really an issue. Menstrual cycles, that was a big one. You said very heavy.
Tell us about that. What was it like before and then after?
So I was on the contraceptive pill for a few years before I met my husband, because my periods were so heavy. At the risk of being a little bit vulgar, I would go to bed some nights with all the things that you needed for protection, and wake up to a mess. Like it was horrible. It was horrible.
Change your bed linen.
Yes, yeah, stains on the bed linen. It's horrible. And so the pill kind of helped with that, but then the kind of cycle that I would have when I was on the pill, it was clotty, like it wasn't, like it's supposed to be.
Wasn't fresh blood. It was old and dark and clotted.
Yeah, it was horrible. So when I came off the pill, I didn't have a period for about 8 months.
Interesting.
And it was great, but yeah, it was.
Yeah. But it's an indication of what the long-term effect is that it's had on your hormonal system.
Right.
That you didn't menstruate.
You're putting these synthetic hormones into your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my body had to.
So when did you come off the pill? While you were changing your diet or before that?
Yeah, it was April last year. It was on beginning early days of 365. I just stopped it. My husband and I, we made the decision to not have children. So I told my husband one day, I'm like, coming off the pill, my love. So he phoned the urologist and got snipped. So yeah, so I don't have to be on the pill anymore. And now my cycle is perfect. No complaints. It's a beautiful thing for me.
So just a question, before you went on the pill, your periods were heavy. How many days did they last?
7 or 8 days.
7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
And then on the contraceptive pill, how long did they last?
About 4 days.
And then since you've changed your lifestyle and come off the pill and all of that, how many days is it now?
2 or 3. I think 3. I'd say 3. There was 1 month where it was only 2, but yeah, 3 days.
And did you notice any difference in the color of the blood? I know we're getting gory here, but this is important. Women need to know this, because nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about the gory stuff.
Yeah.
What was the difference in the color? You said that one on the pill was clotty and heavy. What's the difference in the color and the odor? I want to know.
So it's amazing. Like I actually love my period now, because
I know.
it looks like fresh, clean, pink, red blood, whereas before it was black and thick. Yeah, and there's no odor whatsoever. I don't
Yeah.
have any.
I think the thing that got to me, your story is so similar to mine, was the smell. I used to be repulsed by my body, and I couldn't actually handle it. And once, you've changed your diet and you're on plant-based and lots of raw food, it's light and there's no odor. It's not even a heavy blood smell. It's a clean smell. And as you say, you actually love your period. It's just like, okay, it's that time of the month and it's just all clean and tidy and organized, and you don't feel like you're dying of. One of the girls in Canada, Monique, I'm going to be interviewing her as well. She said, I used to feel like somebody was trying to kill me when I was menstruating.
Yeah.
She would be in such pain. She said, it felt like people were sticking knives into me.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing thing. And I think probably for most women that experience this, you just never want to go back to that old way. It's quite amazing. Yeah. So I'm interrupting you. Please carry on telling us.
The premenstrual tension, there's like, I used to have so much anxiety before my period, and now I have no mood swings whatsoever. I used to have insane cravings. I could just eat anything and everything before my period, and now there's none of that. And I don't have cramps, no menstrual cramps, nothing. It's just the easiest thing, which is how it's supposed to be.
It is, and the funny thing is, I just recently read an article, I think it was in BBC, online, and they are in the process of changing the laws in Spain to allow for women to take time off work when they're menstruating, because it's now seen as this has become the norm, that women are uncomfortable, in pain, distraught, headaches, crazy, whatever it is. They're now giving you an amount of time off every time you menstruate, so because it becomes so normal to be ill when you menstruate. And that's so sad, because so many women can be set free. As I find, I'm not sure about you, but I know I found that when my menstruation changed, and of course the mental wellness and all of that changed, it's such a feeling of total liberation, because you almost feel in fear that you're just going to start bleeding one day and it's just going to get on everything and you're going to be embarrassed. But once you're healthy and well and your menstrual period is clean and comfortable, there's none of that fear, because your body's not doing anything to shock you or surprise you at the wrong time. And that to me, I know, I don't know how you feel at all about that.
I think during this whole journey, just the mindset shift in general about, I mean, something I didn't mention was my very unhealthy body image. I mean, I've never been fat or overweight, but I've never really liked what I've seen in the mirror. And now, I mean, my body shape hasn't changed. I haven't lost weight, but the way I see myself is completely different. It's like I've got these tummy rolls, which when I used to see, I would be disgusted by them. And now I can look at these tummy rolls, the same tummy rolls I had last year, and not be disgusted. It's like I kind of like, it's okay. And
interesting.
just to have this healthy body image, because there's just so much mental clarity and mental stability now. To have this, my outlook on life is just completely changed. And that includes how I see myself in the mirror.
That's amazing. So how is this, your moods changing and you getting healthier and stronger, how's it impacted your relationship with your husband and your family? And has it affected anybody else in your family, like your husband? Has he done anything different as well?
So, no. For anyone out there who's changed their lifestyle and has a partner who's made the changes with them, you're so blessed. Because my husband, he has supported me through this whole thing. I mean, he's been amazing, but he hasn't made the same changes. So it has brought some challenges. Yes. He did, when I cut out refined sugar, he did the same thing. He also cut out refined sugar. He didn't really have much choice because we just stopped buying sugar. And his headaches stopped. He used to have headaches almost every day, popping antihistamines all the time. He doesn't get headaches anymore since cutting out sugar. And he's very proud of that. Yeah, but other than that, he still eats. Sometimes it's difficult to watch some of the stuff he eats, but we make our relationship work.
But is your actual relationship, has that improved? I mean, with you being less anxious and depressed and stuff?
For sure. I mean, when I used to drink, I used to drink a lot, and lots of sugar, and would have these insane mood swings, especially before my period. And he would just sometimes go to the room and close the door because I was impossible to be around. And now there's none of that. So I think, and he sees that, and he's very proud of me for what I've done, what I've the journey that I've gone on, because it was difficult. To give up sugar and wine when you're an addict, I think the other stuff was easy to give up, but sugar and wine for me, ask any of my friends. When I tell them now I don't drink, they're shocked. I used to be able to drink my friends under the table. I shouldn't say this proudly, but like just use and still hold my own. I could. Yeah, it was crazy how much I used to drink.
So that brings me to another point. How much money are you saving being healthy and living the lifestyle you're living now? Have you calculated that at all?
Yeah, I haven't actually calculated. I should. But the amount of
just
money
if thumbs up, if you kind of think about it, how much do you think you're saving compared to?
Well, let's see, a bottle of wine, let's say I'd spend about 50 or 60 rand, and I was drinking 1 or 2 glasses a day. So how many glasses in a bottle of wine? So let's say 2 bottles a week.
Yeah.
That I was going through on my own, not with Andrea. Andrea wasn't drinking. I was drinking on my own. This was just me. So what's that?
So that's
100 rand a week?
That's 100. That's 400 rand. And medication that you were on, what was that costing you?
About 400 rand a month.
Okay,
the psychiatrist bills.
And how much was that? So 400 plus 200, 600 psychiatrist bills?
So I was seeing a psychiatrist every 6 months, which was $1,000 every time, 1,000 rand every time.
Okay. So you can split that up over a year. It's nearly 200 rand, like 150 rand. So we're really sitting at 750 rand a month.
Yeah.
And sugar and junk foods and anything like that you were spending on, what would you spend on that on a weekly basis?
Oh, I love to bake. So I was buying all sorts of stuff for baking, but chocolates, top
at least another 100 rand a week.
Easy, yeah.
So you could almost
to eat top deck. I used to freeze it and then eat.
Oh yes, top deck, yes. I used to want that one too. I used to think it was healthier to eat white chocolate than dark chocolate.
Yes.
Except that what I knew was that white chocolate was much sweeter than the dark chocolate.
Yes, yeah.
So in effect, you could say you were saving at least 4,000 rand a month. You were spending that more. And then any sort of other issues, you're probably spending a lot more money on sanitary equipment, menstrual, tampons or pads.
Think of that, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of those.
And less soap powder because you don't have to wash the sheets every single morning. And electricity and water.
I'm saving on shampoo because I don't wash my hair as often. It was always so oily. I now wash it once a week because it doesn't get.
And you're not putting any cortisone creams and things on your hands.
Yeah.
So you're probably edging towards 5,000 rand a month that you're just saving on yourself.
Crazy.
Have you noticed the difference financially, that there's less of a strain? Because you've also got more energy to do more yoga classes, so you're probably earning more of an income.
Yes, yeah. My income has taken a rise, a spike. Yes, yeah.
Good.
But
and
my family thinks I'm crazy. My family thinks I'm crazy.
I think that's the importance of having the support on the 365 is to have that support and know that there are people out there. You've got your facilitator, your game changer.
Yeah.
You've had the Zoom sessions.
Quite good friends with Sally, who's doing the natural health course with me.
Cool.
We discovered recently that we live up the road from each other. So now
Oh, really?
her and I are going for walks twice a week, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I have one friend, Kat, who has just embraced this whole journey. I share all the stuff I'm learning, I just share with her, and she was having insane digestive issues and fecal loading and underactive thyroid and no energy. And in 6 months, just by sort of changing her diet the same way I have, her digestive system is functioning perfectly. Her doctors were blown away at her thyroid recovery. It's actually quite cool. She's a school teacher. She teaches high school biology, and she's now teaching this stuff to her students.
Oh, how amazing.
Yeah.
How wonderful.
And she gave them an assignment where they had to cut out sugar for 48 hours and write about it. And one of the mothers actually asked if she could do the assignment too.
Wow.
So she's bringing some changes into the school.
That is amazing. And you know, the interesting thing is you changed your lifestyle, and now you've impacted this woman's life, and she's impacting a whole lot of people's life. You're actually making the world a better place. And I say this to people is when you change your life and your diet and your health improves, you don't really even have to go out and preach it to anybody. People usually ask and the conversations go, and the next thing you have this knock-on effect and you have no idea. There could be thousands of people out there going to be impacted, not only online, but just by people that you've spoken to over the years. You could end up saving thousands of people's lives, because depression is a major cause of suicide.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing thing to think of, that you changing your life has had this impact on people. And it's not going to stop, because you tell somebody and then it tells somebody else and then they tell somebody, and it's just this ongoing thing. Now they'll have the video they can watch.
Yes.
Yeah. So, are there any other, and just an encouraging word for your husband? I know when I changed my diet, my husband didn't have the health issues I had. He had high blood pressure and, he indigestion, but nothing where you have mood swings and you're thinking of suicide. That's kind of hectic stuff. So I remember when I changed my diet, I was always more radical than him, and he took longer to get there. And often men do, because women are faced with their health every month when they menstruate, and they tend to be affected more mentally by eating badly in the sort of short term. But in the long term, men can end up with much more serious problems. So I find that men change when their health is affected. So your husband, if he's healthy and he's got rid of the sugar, that's a major thing. If anything ever arises and he has a health problem, he'll know exactly what to do. And he may or may not even tell you. Yeah. And just by adding more raw food before cooked food, for example, before a meal, that gradually changes your blood chemistry, and you start actually craving good stuff and not craving the bad stuff. So as much as he's not where you are right now, watch him carefully, because what happens, I find, with men is they have a little health crisis. They get on track, and then they become way more fanatical than you are. And then they'll start preaching to everybody around them. And, just I had the Australian group in the Zoom session with the programs today. And I say Australian, because a lot of the Australian people come on at that time. It's not only Australian, New Zealand, UK, a whole lot of people. And they were asking if my husband could speak to the men. So and it's because this is a universal issue, is that the wives get motivated because they're dealing with their children and their own health issues. And then they get healthy, and then the husband's not there as fast as them. So I said, well, I can get my husband to chat to them. And the thing is that the worst thing you can do is nag, and I'm sure you don't do that. But when you're on at them about it all the time, and the one woman was kind of wanting Mark to sort of talk to him to get him right. And I said, no, Mark needs to talk to him to tell him how his sex life improved. And then they'll change for anything. Energy, that's the thing, is Mark says energy and improved sexual function. He says those are the two things will make him never go back to his old way of living. Yeah. So when they've spoken, so think of it, next Thursday, it's midday, but you'll get the recording as well, and you can watch that as well. That's just for people in the group. That won't be available like this is. So if you want to see that to anybody who's watching this, you have to join either the 30-day, 100-day, or 365 programs from our wholeworldwell.com site. Kirsty, is there anything else you can think of that's improved? Sleep. I'm thinking of sleep, body odor. I think you mentioned that.
I never really struggled with sleep.
No.
Sleep was never an issue. Yeah, so I can't really see much of a change with that. I wake up feeling more refreshed than I did before.
Okay.
I think that was key, was being able to just. I used to teach these really early morning classes for the crazy yogis who do their 5 a.m. was insane. So I was up at 4 a.m. sometimes, and
It is.
my alarm would go off, and I would be like, why am I doing this to myself? But now my alarm goes off, and it's like, I'm up. It's fine. I can get up. And sometimes I don't need the alarm to wake up at 4 a.m. My body just knows this is the time you have to get up on a Wednesday.
And that is an amazing thing, is that most people find they no longer need an alarm. They just literally tell their body, I need to wake up at 3 to catch a flight, and then they wake up, or I need to wake up at 4 to do a class, or swap for my exam.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing. You just tell yourself, and then you go to sleep and you wake up.
Yes,
it's like
it's amazing.
Your brain and your body are all in tune and listening to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have any body odor whatsoever. I don't wear deodorant. People are like, what deodorant do you use? I don't wear deodorant. What? So yeah, I don't wear deodorant, and I don't smell. I've never really struggled with a lot of sweat either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, people ask me, but what about when you sweat? And I'm like, you're supposed to sweat. Why do you want something to stop you from sweating?
You want to sweat. Some people have odor and animal products. And why I asked that is because the menstrual blood smell improved, but a lot of people have body odor as well. It can smell quite sour. And that improves when you go plant-based, especially when it's a high raw diet. It's quite fascinating to see how it improves.
Yeah.
And when people start eating a really pure diet, they literally can smell. For example, people will say they had something with garlic and they could smell it in the armpit sweat. Or they had something with leeks and onions, and they said there's a very distinct difference in the smell between leeks and onions. You can smell it. It means the lymphatic system is very clean and clear, and it's just cleaning stuff out straight away. And that's a really good sign, because if your lymphatic system doesn't clean itself out regularly, then you could be potentially have a problem in the future with something like lymphedema or lymphatic cancer, and that's not a great cancer to get, because it can spread through the body so quickly, because the lymphatic vessels are all over. They're like blood vessels. They're all over our body. So it's an interesting thing that, yeah.
Something else I noticed was morning breath. None of that.
Yes, none of that. You wake up with sweet breath.
Yeah, always self-conscious when you wake up next to someone.
Yes, and then when they say to you, come near me, your breath is so sweet, you're like, what? And those are the things that tell me we're doing the right thing. Your menstrual period gets sorted out, it's smells, odors, breath, eczema, all that stuff and it brings me to the fact that I'm always saying this, that when you create the right environment for your body to heal itself, it does. We had a testimony today about a woman who her bladder had prolapsed, and she was supposed to go in for surgery, and they couldn't take her straight away. In the meantime, she got onto one of the programs and just started following it. And by the time she was due to have her operation, she went to just have her final checkup. And the doctor said, I can't explain this. Your prolapsed bladder is no longer prolapsed. It's gone back inside, and everything's taut, and the muscles are working. I've never seen anything like this. And that's really just the incredible miracle of the human body, that when we treat it the way it was designed to be treated, it will do everything it can to repair itself. And sometimes the damage is too severe and there can be partial healing. But very often our bodies surprise us, like this instance in this woman. Medically, you're told there's nothing else you can do. We have to do the surgery. And she's thrilled because she doesn't need the surgery. So she didn't want anybody fiddling down there anyway. Yeah. So, but that's how powerful the body is create that right environment, and then the body just heals itself. It's just, and you are a prime example of where that has taken place. Your testimony is very powerful, an amazing testimony. I thank you for being so honest as well. And as I say, in time, Your husband may not be there now or yet, but in time he will, and it'll be an interesting journey.
Yeah.
But I know you'll continue. I know you're studying a natural health and nutrition course as well.
Yes.
And what are your intentions? What are you going to use that for?
So I would love to help people. That's basically, I'm already trying to. There is a lot of pushback from people. I do get a lot of pushback from people. But yeah, I want to, there's just so many sick people in just my family who I would just love to help. So I want to get all this knowledge. I'm almost done. And once I've got all the knowledge and I suppose the certificate to say that I've done it, I think people, I don't know, might take me a bit more seriously. But I've got people in my family with thyroid issues, varicose veins, someone's early signs of glaucoma and pre-diabetic, and yeah, so my beloved family members, I really want to get them to vibrant health. You know, they're all like, but everything in moderation. And
well, it's a way to hold on to your habits that you don't want to change, and it's when your health becomes so uncomfortable that your habits that you have are no longer that dear to you. The difficulty with family, and I'm just sharing with you, is that there's a famous quote that says, a prophet is always without honor in their own home. Very often the last place you get recognized for the work that you're doing can be in your own family, because there's this like, well, we know you so well. How can you know more than us? We're around you all the time. And so you may find that your success is not in your home to start off with, but in fact with people outside of your home. So don't be discouraged, because that's common, that family are like, no, man, you grew up with us. We know who you are. You know, it's just this like, you can't, don't be discouraged, because there are people out there who are needing your help, and just this testimony alone. And if you want to, I can put your email address up so that if people want to contact you and find out more, and maybe just email you and maybe make appointments to start. You're nearly qualified. You should be able to start helping people pretty soon. And so it'll be up to you. You just need to tell me it's okay to put that up there. Don't want to put your private details without that, but we need more people like you, Kirsty. At the end of the day, more people that know how their body works and can help other people know how their bodies work, so that they can create the right environment in which healing can take place. The better place it becomes, because healthy people, I mean, you're in a testimony to this. Healthy people are less likely to be depressed, anxious, or have mood swings, or a very little chance of them having any of that. And so what you're doing is making the world a nicer place, a better place, just because people are happier, healthier, kinder, more respectful, just because they're eating properly. It's very hard to be irritable, even if you're tired, when you're very healthy. So, sorry. So it's very, very difficult to, as I say, to be grumpy and irritable with people when you're healthy, because as you say, you're waking up in the morning, you're wide awake, you've got energy. So what's there to be irritable about? Even if it's raining, you're like, oh, great, the garden's being watered for free. Yeah. So, any other final thoughts that you might like to share with us?
So the message that I actually wanted to what I really wanted to get across today, there's a quote in your, I've got it here, in your 100 Days to Health, I think it's day 30, that you include by Kirsty Turlington. When you are balanced and when you listen and attend to the needs of your body, mind, and spirit, your natural beauty comes out. And it's just this whole journey has just been such a beautiful thing. And when I look back at the day I cried out to the Lord, asking him for help to heal my eczema, he could have easily healed it, and then here you go, and I would have gone on my merry way. But it was like, when I cried out to him, he said, I will heal your eczema, but we're going on a journey. And it wasn't an easy journey. And I feel like I gained more on this journey to health that he took me on than I would have if he had just healed my eczema then and there. Not that he couldn't have, he could have, but he needed me to go on this journey. And I feel like that was more beneficial than just a quick snap of the fingers healing of my hands.
Which is very profound, because I've seen people healed instantly in situations. I've actually seen that happen. But because they're not being good stewards of their bodies and they're not actually looking after their body, they either get the disease again or they get something worse. And I think that's the lesson for all of us in this, is that your health is your personal responsibility, and your creator will walk the road with you. Because who wants to be instantly healed when you can be well for the rest of your life? And you know, it's all very well having some disease go, but you could suffer from constipation and sleep issues and all kinds of other things that people think are normal. So that's very profound, and I thank you for that. It's a great time to end.
Cool.
So I want to thank you really for sharing this testimony with people. I know people all over the world are going to hear your story, and just encourage them to subscribe, so that if they subscribe, then they get notification every time we do a testimony or hear somebody's story like this. And then, as I say, if you're happy to put your email address, you can just let me know and just send me a message and say it's okay or it's not okay. But either way, your story, without people even contacting you, will really be very profound and touch, I really believe, potentially even millions of people's lives, because there are so many women who've gone through exactly what you've gone through and who think there's no hope. And I think that's the gist of what you're saying. There is hope. It's a journey. It may not be easy at times, but it's clearly worth it.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. Really, that was pretty amazing. I'm just going to switch off the camera.